What's going on, you guys? So we're 2 weeks out from the big fight, Crawford versus Canelo. And this has been a fight that, I've talked about for some time, really ever since it was announced. And I'm excited for it, man. As time gets closer, the more excited I'm getting. But also as time gets closer, the more I'm starting to lean toward a Crawford stoppage. I've been doing some studying on, both fighters, really. But I've been studying Canelo's last few fights, on top of seeing everything I've been seeing, in him in training camp, preparing for Crawford. I'm not impressed, man. And I've known that Canelo has had holes in his game for quite some time. If you're a real hardcore boxing fan, you know that footwork has been, one of Canelo's flaws throughout his whole entire career, right? Even when people wanted to say he was in his quote-unquote prime, he had footwork issues alongside stamina issues. He hasn't had the best gas tank, in the sport. When he was completely roided out of his mind against Golovkin, he faded late. We saw that in the first fight, right? We've seen it get very fatigued in the Bivol fight. And then the latest one that, caught my attention when I was studying him, right, was the Jaime Munguia fight. The reason for that was just how hard he actually faded late in the fight. And I did a YouTube short and had people going crazy. Canelo fanboys go crazy anytime you criticize Canelo Alvarez. And in this YouTube short I posted, if you guys go on and look at it, I highlighted just all the body shots that Jaime Munguia was landing, just to show that that's the real reason Canelo Alvarez wasn't able to stop him. It's not because, that's his friend and he really liked, Jaime Munguia, and, that's his Mexican countryman, and, he wanted to take it easy on little brother Jaime. Big brother Canelo, he didn't want to hurt Jaime. He was just in there sparring, playing around, Jaime was the one really fighting. He didn't want to ruin Jaime's career. Just all the stupid narratives you see throughout YouTube comment sections, right? Complete stupid takes. The dumbest narratives you can possibly think of. Anytime you go in there into a fight, right, and you are playing around, those are the times you get hurt. I don't think Canelo was just playing around, letting him hit him, letting Jaime Munguia hit him with 5-piece combinations throughout the whole entire fight. I don't think you just do that for fun, right? But no, and Canelo fanboys are just crazy. They don't have logical sense when it comes to talking about Canelo Alvarez or critiquing Canelo Alvarez, because they just base everything off of emotion. They love Canelo, right? But when I was watching that fight, like I said, the body work stuck out to me. How fast he faded. He was done, really fatigued around round 7, round 8. He wasn't able to pull the trigger on, certain punches that he was, letting go early part of the fight. His punches didn't have enough steam on them like they did early part of the fight. He faded quick. So when I was watching this, I was like, man, all Crawford has to do is pretty much the game plan originally in my mind, if I'm thinking about this fight, how it's going to play out, right? I had Crawford winning by decision and boxing, just using his IQ, his boxing ability to win this fight for him, right? Boxing in spots, moving out, using your footwork, using your reach, go in there, throw a combination and get out. Kind of similar to what Mayweather did, right? But one thing that people are not talking about, right, in terms of, if you're talking about Terence Crawford's ability as a fighter, right, one of the most common things that gets underrated is his body work. The dude is a vicious body puncher. If you watch him in the Sean Porter fight, the Jeff Horn fight, the Madrimov fight, even against Spence, he's always had these body shots that they snap. And it has something to do with, him having long arms. They're just like whipping shots. But he is a vicious body puncher. And I think a lot of people, don't really, talk about that. But also not a lot of people have targeted Canelo's body. Jaime Munguia did it. And, in the Bivol fight too, Bivol was, landing straight rights to the body. And I think that had a lot to do with, Canelo fading in that fight. But ultimately now how I see this fight going, I see Crawford, boxing, using his feet, still throwing combinations and getting out of the way, but attacking the body a lot more. I think if he goes to the body early, I think by the 8th, 9th round, he's going to be gassed. He's going to be gassed. Now, there's still some question marks, right? In terms of people talking about this fight, and that's what makes one of these things, it makes this fight so intriguing, is because there are a lot of questions, right? But I have a strong feeling that Terrence Crawford's power is going to translate to 168. We've seen him, training for this fight. Some of the pictures I posted about, his physique, how he's looking going into this fight. He looks ripped, even at 168. Now, who knows if he comes in right at the weight limit, right? But he looks trimmed. He looks muscled up. He doesn't look blown up. He doesn't look like he just put on size, and it's not good size. He looks well trimmed, well ready for this fight, for this debut at 168. So I'm going to imagine that he's going to get Canelo's respect pretty early. I know Canelo's got this great chin, but one thing that a lot of people, in the media, certain boxing, media members are talking about is Crawford is a sharp puncher, right? He's not a slow, load him up type of power puncher like Golovkin, where everything is telegraphed. Even Munguia was telegraphed. John Ryder, Edgar Berlanga, right? Those guys, yeah, they may have had some pop, but you're going to see those punches coming from a mile away. Not with Crawford. Crawford is a slick counterpuncher. And when he lets his combinations go, they're quick, they're sharp. And sometimes he's going to land a shot that you're not going to be able to see. Right? Look at Jose Benavidez. Hit him with the uppercut he did not see coming. And he was taking some good shots throughout the fight. But the one he didn't see is what hurt him. So I'm just now how I'm seeing this fight go. Crawford boxing him, going to the body, wearing him out, and possibly getting him out late. And along the way, frustrating Canelo, because if Canelo doesn't have his opponent standing just right in front of him, he's not going to be able to land. And he's not punching while the other guy's punching anymore. There's no more Canelo, punching in between the punches. It's straight defense or straight offense. There's no in between. Right? But no, you hear all the Canelo fans right now saying he's going to knock Crawford out. When is the last time Canelo knocked anybody out? The other things you're hearing are, oh, he's got Jerome Boots Ennis in his camp now. That don't matter. Jerome Boots Ennis is not a Terrence Crawford. And if you really want to, dive deep into that, it looks like he's getting beat up in sparring. Dude's posting pictures with lumps on his forehead, eye closed. It's not looking too good. In any training footage I've seen thus far, he looks slow, flat-footed as always, and doesn't look like the intensity is there. You look at Crawford, on the other hand, the dude's climbing mountains in training camp, working hard, really motivated to win this fight. I don't know if you guys seen, yesterday they did like the send-off, celebration thing for Crawford in Omaha, and alongside a bunch of other interviews and stuff like that, right? But Team Crawford is very confident they're going to go get the job done. Crawford's saying, I'm going to go in there and prove them wrong. He hears all the BS that these YouTubers say, all the critics say. He knows everything that you guys say. He sees it. But he uses it as fuel. He's wanting to go in there and prove all you guys wrong, right? To quote him, he's like, I'm going to make them all go home crying, right? I did some YouTube shorts of Bomac too, talking about this fight, saying they're going to whoop him. that power is going to fade. That power is not going to sustain him. He's going to be tired by around 6 or 7. So, I don't know, man. The closer we get to this fight, the more I'm starting to lean toward a Crawford, stoppage. I was already picking Crawford to win this fight. Wasn't really thinking a stoppage was so likely, but man, I'm starting to really feel like Crawford's going to stop him. And we're going to hear a bunch of excuses, right? So I don't want to hear any, though, because this dude brought in boots. He should be highly motivated, right, to win this fight. He brought in, right, the guy that Crawford avoided, quote unquote avoided, his, guy who's so similar to him in style, who's bigger. He should be able to handle Crawford on fight night then, right? And Crawford ain't fought nobody, so I just can't wait. I honestly cannot wait. But those are my thoughts, man. Let me know what you guys think. Who do you have winning this fight? And can you see Terrence Crawford stopping Canelo Alvarez? Let me know. Hate, like, comment, subscribe.